Welcome to Grounds for Conversations. I'm Amber Noble. It's difficult to find common ground when we focus on things we disagree about. But if we take a step back, we realize that we all have things to learn. Grounds for Conversations is a podcast where we dive into a conversation about Scripture, looking at the story in its entirety. This is for the believer, the questioner, the invested, and the searching. I invite you to join the conversation. Also, at the end of this podcast, stick around for an extra shot, a conversation where we discuss everything about nothing. All right, welcome to Grounds for Conversations. My name is Amber Noble, and today I have a very special guest co-hosting this with me today. His name is Noah Bouley, right? Did I say it? I love it. Okay,
Bouley.
Noah, tell us real quick, how old are you?
I am 17 years old.
17. What grade are you in?
I am a junior.
Okay, so you're the youngest guest we've had on here. And let me give a little backstory to why Noah is here today. How long ago was it when you approached me? Do you remember?
I want to say it was right before the summer. So it was probably, 7-8 months ago?
Yeah. Okay. So it was like March?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was speaking at a church that Noah and his family attend on Sunday, right? And I had known Noah, I don't know, we've known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years now.
And so I was speaking at this church, and all of a sudden service was over, and Noah's tall. You can't see him. Noah's a lot taller than I am. So he's marching towards the front, and I'm just like, is this kid mad? Is he about to take me out? And there was it wasn't the typical like, hey, just easygoing, smiling Noah. There was obviously, he had a purpose and an agenda. And so he marches to the front. Marches sounds kind of weird. It wasn't like he was like, he was just coming to the front. And he comes to the front and he said, hey, the Lord's put something on my heart. And he shared that with me. And I was just like, dude, that's awesome. You should do it. And I'm giving the backstory here for a second, and then we're going to dive into that. Because how many people, both young and old, have the desire, they say God put something on their heart, or they're inspired, that they see a commercial for Feed the Children, or whatever it is. And there is this immense desire to do something, but then it just goes away. So it's just like, oh, that was a great thought. Or that was, there was a plan that started but didn't finish. And it literally was just moments later what God had spoke to Noah was doing. And I was just really taken back, because at the time, when did you turn 17?
Literally, I just turned 17 over the summer. So I was 16 at this time.
16. Okay. So you were a sophomore going into your junior year. Yes. Still taller than me. I think that should just be known. And so he approaches and he says, this is what was in my heart. So let's backtrack a little bit. Noah, welcome. Tell everybody what it was that the Lord had put on your heart that day. Yeah.
So this was something that was probably built up, I think, over my whole life. Now looking back at it.
That's awesome. Did you know it when you walked up, did you go, this is what my purpose is? Or was the Lord just stirring stuff up?
Yeah, the Lord was just stirring stuff up.
Okay,
and
cool.
I think that's one big thing, is just being aware of knowing the voice of God.
Yeah. Wow.
And that came through, like I say, my whole life. And I recognized this is the voice of God.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't know exactly what it was at the time. When I walked up to you, I was like, I'm just gonna start talking, We'll see where God takes this. But I knew that this is something from God. And
okay.
I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I want to start somewhere.
Okay. So you did not attend our student ministry. You were very involved in another student ministry. And I never even asked you this, so I may not like the answer that I'm about to hear, but what caused you to beeline to me and go, hey, this is happening, verbal, vomit all over you. And then I'm going to bounce and we're going to see what happens. What caused that in that moment? Can you give us a little?
Yeah. So if I'm being completely honest, it's I'm sitting in church that morning. I don't know exactly what was said, but it was
fantastic. That's
I don't want to wait too long.
Just kidding.
No, yeah. But the thing is when I felt that on my heart, it was like, why wait?
Right.
Right. Like I want to get started right now.
Okay.
And like I said, I didn't know what that first step looked like, but I was like, hey, let's at least go talk to somebody.
Okay.
Let's figure this out.
So I know nobody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what that started feeling like, what that process looked like. And we're going to go through what the steps were getting you to where we're at right now.
Yeah. So one of the big things, like as I became a Christian when I was, 12 years old, was worship became a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the main things that like, it was something like a foundation that I had like set my life on, because I realized I was like, wait, this is what I was created to do.
Yeah.
And whenever I started like learning about just like my generation and like where we're headed.
Yeah.
Like my generation has the lowest biblical knowledge. And that's just so sad to me.
The lowest biblical knowledge and more access to the world than any
Exactly.
generation's ever had.
Yeah, it's sad, but like at the same time, I understand that like I do have something that they're missing.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I felt the Lord was putting on my heart. It's like, we need to start something where we can bring together your generation.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I love worship. I love people. And I wanted to bring that together.
Yeah. Okay. So what year did you speak at Fields of Faith?
So that was my sophomore year. So
The year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I had known Noah just in passing through church, through different events, and he was sharing his testimony at Fields of Faith, which Fields of Faith is through Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and different school districts put it on, and all the churches and everybody comes together and they have different student athletes share. And for the last several years, I've been like the MC or whatever. And so Noah was one of the students, and Noah got up there and I was like, okay, Pastor Noah, like, can we have the microphone back? Like, it was just so natural. And it wasn't hype. It wasn't a look at me. It was so obvious that what God has put in me, I've got to get it out. I got to tell you, I got to tell somebody. And it was incredible. And so I feel like when knowing that side of you, that when you came up to me after church that Sunday and said, this is what's in my heart, because I had seen the fruit of what God had been doing in your life. Like, to me, it was like, dude, you got to go for it. And I didn't even ask you, well, what's the plan? Or have you talked to anybody? Like, I just immediately became your hype girl in that moment. I was like, you got to do this.
Yeah, no, I remember I'm like looking for an answer, and Amber's just like, oh yeah, you got this.
You got this.
She
Do
looked
it.
at me, I was like,
Do it.
Go ahead. Start somewhere.
Go. Okay. So what did that look like? Okay. No, wait, hold on. Back up. So God was speaking to you in church that morning. And you're like, I have to do something with this. And it had to do with worship. Give a little bit more of what you felt like. You knew where the generation was at. You knew what God was doing in you. What were you feeling like he was saying, this is how you bridge it?
So like with summer coming up, one thing that I was aware of was like, I've seen like a trend of there's churches who would literally like not meet as often during the summer.
Wait, okay. So that's weird to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not anything like, listen, if that's your youth group and you're like, we take a break in the summer, this is a judgment-free zone. And if you're getting all upset about that, like, go talk to Jesus and figure that out, right? Like, that's not the agenda here. But like, students are so free in the summer. That is the best time to tap into that amount of that energy and that to just that generation. Okay. So you noticed that.
Yeah. So I was aware of that. And I was like, we need still something where kids can come and meet. And the thing was like, I never wanted to act like I had the answer. Right. That's one thing I was scared of, I'm gonna be honest. Like starting this, I was like, I never want to just be that kid who thinks that he has it. Right. Right. So, but I was like, although I'm scared of that, I still realize that there's something that I need to do. Right. Because I have something that they're looking for. Let me stop you there. How stinking powerful is that? Like, I don't think that, and I mean, when you look through scripture and you look at these mighty men and women of God, they were never people that were like, hey, I've arrived. Let me tell you how to do this. They were doing it scared at the same time, right? Trusting God that
hey, look, if I die, I'm going to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
If I live, the Lord's got this. And that approach to not being, I mean, it's courageous, but it's also that awareness that this is bigger than I am. So to pretend like I have it figured out is super dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, because it takes the reliance off of God. So that's where you were at, and I think that's
exactly
kind of still where you're at, right?
Yeah,
okay. I love that. Okay. So go on.
But yeah, I was really like, Lord, put it heavy on my heart. It's like, there's so many kids, especially in my area. I think it's weird because like, we think that in Montgomery County, it's like, we live in the Bible Belt. There's a lot of churches,
right.
A lot of kids go to church, but it's like, there's a lot lacking even within churches.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And can we talk about that for a second? Can we pause there? There is, and this is not like attacking Montgomery County PS. This happens in every county right now. What do you, there's kind of like an epidemic happening within the body of Christ where church is something you go to. It's not something that you are. And so you have students that are plugged into various youth groups on Wednesday night, and they might even go to church on Sunday morning. But the rest of the week, their life looks very different. And I know that that's been a cultural thing since probably forever. It was that way when I was a kid. But I feel like more now, it's embraced by parents. That their kids party. It's embraced by parents. Yeah, well, you know, as long as they're here drinking, it's okay. Like they just come here and they have these drunken fest in a barn or whatever. And then everybody's at church worshiping God on Sunday morning. Yeah. And I mean, do you see that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely become like normalized.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy.
So how do you first of all, I'm not putting you on a pedestal. That's unrealistic. But as a believer at 17 years old, how do you maneuver through that, trying to reach your peers without being that self-righteous, judgmental? Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a balance.
Oh, for sure. I think like approaching it with the mindset that like the same sin that separates me from God is the same sin.
Yeah.
That they deal with.
Like adults need to hear that right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like we judge people who sin differently than us, right?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, well, we're the same, so you're cool. But dude, I would never do that.
Exactly.
Wait, okay.
Yeah.
So this is an issue that you see with you. And here's the crazy thing. It's young people, it's young adults that it's obvious that they have a call of God on their life, right? Yes. It's like you see them and it's like they love the Lord, but then in their mind and in their life, there's a separation. It's like, yeah, but this isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And there's a justification on this part of their life that isn't fully surrendered to God.
Yeah.
Right. And you can say, well, it's not your place to judge. No, the Bible's very clear. I don't get to judge a man's soul.
Yes.
But it tells me to judge fruit. And so, I think that we confuse those two things. Yeah. And so you're seeing this. Okay, continue on with what you were saying. You're watching where your generation's at.
Yeah. And I think just tying it like with the obedience aspect, because I think that's kind of what it boils down to is people are scared to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So they're scared to be obedient.
Yeah. Wow.
And because like people don't understand, like they're scared to open up about their own things. So they feel like they can't step out and do something for somebody else, right. If that makes sense.
You think that it's a fear of failure, a fear of exposure, a fear of proving that I don't really know what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm just walking this out.
Yeah. And it's not even like, because like part of it is like people are scared of like, how am I going to be judged? But even in like our area, knowing that there's a lot of Christians, it's just like, not only am I going to be judged, but like now people are watching me 24/7.
Right.
Right. And it's like people are scared to have that. And I've talked to people where it's like, hey, I talked at something and it's like somebody came up to me the next week and was like, hey, I saw you do this.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, yeah, that's a struggle and that's not easy, but it's like, yeah, we're going to mess up. We're going to deal with things. Right. Like that's part of it. And I think that's why we need to be vulnerable. I think that my generation, especially, we are not good at being vulnerable. Mm-mm.
Well, and I just said, like, no, you're not. No, but the reality is, you guys were born behind screens, right? Like you've grown up in school, in socializing, everything is behind a screen, and having a conversation face to face.
Yeah.
People are their Facebook, their Twitter, their Instagram, whatever, they're warriors behind a screen, but sitting down and being honest and transparent about, here's my struggle.
Yeah.
Here's what the dark place, but this is also what I feel like the Lord is saying. And how do I figure that out? Right. And I think that's hard for my generation, but we didn't grow up with social media. I know that's a shocker to you. I know you're like, hey, you're like just a couple years older than me now. Like, I know, like, right? No, but I look at your generation and I'm like, man, I cannot imagine what my life would have been like if I would have had access to everything that you guys have access to. That's crazy, you know? So you stepped out. You came up, you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm like, you got to go for it. I was like the DJ Khaled of the moment, just hyping you up. And you go. And what did that look like from there?
Yeah. So
like you leave the church, you get in the car, like what's happening in your heart? What's God doing? Yeah.
So like I said, the worship was like, that was the first thing that was like, I want to start something where we have worship. So that was like, I knew that was what it was going to be centered on. And then it was kind of just like working out the details around that.
Yeah.
But what's funny about that is like, I cannot sing. So like, it's like, how am I going to, like, I want to start something with worship, but I'm not like a worship leader. So that was kind of like something where it was like, that was the first thing the devil was like trying to use against me. He's like, how are you going to start something that you can't even like do?
Well, because let's be honest, worship it's very little to do. It's the singing. It's the posture of your heart, exactly. Right? And you were there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So the devil's in your head. What did you talk to your friends about it? Were you like, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this. Did you go to your parents? Like,
so yeah, I have a couple close friends and I definitely kept it close and like with my family, because I think like there's a certain point of like talking to people who have like your best interests at heart and like know your heart.
Right.
So like, that's the people that I went to. Yeah. And they were like, dude, like go for this.
Yeah.
Like just go for it. Like you said.
Yeah.
Start somewhere.
Just go.
Yeah.
All right. And so you talk to your family, you talk to your friends. By the way, Noah has incredible parents that love Jesus and love him. And how many siblings do you have?
I have 3 siblings.
3 siblings, brothers, sisters.
2 older brothers, 1 younger sister.
Okay. So you're right there in the middle.
Right there in the middle.
And he's got an incredible family. What would you say to the person listening to this that doesn't have the support system that you do, whether they're a student in high school, college, they're an adult? Because people can listen, and that's how the enemy works, right? Well, yeah, Noah could do it because he had this support system. Yeah. What would you say to somebody who didn't have that in a family unit? How would you, from a 17-year-old perspective, I know it's like all these questions, but like, what would you say? Yeah,
I would have to like go to, honestly, like at my lowest point, it wasn't my parents who saved me, you know?
Yeah.
It was God who saved me. He's the one who did the work in me.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the only hope that I have. Right.
Right.
So it's like me relying on God's strength. I can't rely on my parents.
Right.
Right. And that's one thing that I think my parents instilled in me when I was younger is like, your faith is yours.
That's fantastic.
It has to be yours.
Yeah.
So like, if you don't have that, understand that there's still a place for you in the kingdom.
Right. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. Okay. So you talked to your parents, you talked to close friends, you kept it close. What was the first step? Like, what did you do?
Yeah. So the church I was with at the time, Fellowship Montgomery, I knew a lot of the leaders there very well. So I went up and talked to them and I was like, hey, here's my idea. I want to do worship. I want to have some time with prayer because that's really important. And I was like, is there just a space I can use? And they gave me a date. I gave them a time and I just started planning from there.
Okay. So you didn't stay. What I loved about what you did was it was not associated with the church.
Yeah.
You did it at different churches. You did it at people's houses. You did it in the park.
In the park.
It was, y'all, South Texas this last summer was 108 80,000 degrees with 100% humidity. It was awful. Yeah. And Noah and all these students are in a park, like worshiping God.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I remember I had people like bringing fans. I was like, hey, bring your Bible and bring a fan.
Right. For real. So you had, how many over the course of the summer did you have? You did them more than, were they weekly?
Yeah. So I ended up doing 5 over the summer.
Okay.
And I want to say we had about 30 to 40 per one. Some of them were bigger, some were smaller, depending on like if we were in a church, usually it was a little bit bigger.
Right.
Because getting people outside, like you said, 100-degree
weather,
yeah. It's a struggle. But
well, what I loved is you created an Instagram so that people could get information and everyone felt like, which I think was huge. And that's something I do think your generation gets, is being inclusive and allowing everyone to feel invited.
Yeah.
It wasn't a word of mouth there because there was a public invitation on social media. It allowed for anyone to go, I can go do this. I can go be part of this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was watching and following this, and I just thought it was such an epic journey that you guys were on, and just the encouragement that you put out there. So summer ends. What does that look like now?
Yeah. So I had one worship night beginning of school year.
Okay.
It was like, I want to say second week of school year.
Yeah.
And I was like, it ended up being one of my biggest ones, which was kind of like crazy.
And ironic, right?
I know.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. And because like you're just getting back into the swing of things and everything. But for right now, it slowed down a little bit just because of school and everything.
Right.
But what I'm really focusing on is like school, because that's a ministry that I have.
You're right. Yeah, because you're in the middle of it, right?
I'm in the middle of it. And like this whole thing is crazy, like with school, because I'm gonna keep it a short story, but like
you say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so I'm all over the place. That's who I am.
Yeah,
right? So
I love it.
I was like, hey, like if I can finish school early, let's get out of here a year early, right?
Okay.
So over the summer, I take a couple classes. And I was like, I'm gonna graduate early. I'm gonna get out of here. Like I'm ready to go to college and everything. And then God totally turned that around. And he's like, you have a ministry here in Montgomery. So right now, like I'm going to school every day and I'm saying like, there's a reason I have to be here.
Right.
Right. And I think that's so important to realize that like where you are, whether it's your job, whether it's just with like your family, with your brother or something, like that's a ministry right there.
Right.
If there's a relationship, there's a ministry there.
For sure. For sure. And there's people, you said it a while ago, and the thing that the enemy wants to intimidate us with is also one of the greatest tools we have.
Yes.
People are watching. They're always watching. And it's like, well, we're in a glass house. Well, but you know what's beautiful about a glass house? People can see what's broken in you, but they can also see what's not. They can see the goodness of God, you know? And so when you know, as you walk down the halls of your school, whatever, and if you got in trouble in class and you mouthed off to your teacher or whatever, and everybody's watching, they're watching to see how you respond.
Yeah.
How do you fix that? I think that's where we've got to give ourselves, cut ourselves a little bit of slack. God's not asking us to be perfect. He's asking us to handle our failures in a way that points people back to Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? Like, man, I did not handle that well. I lost my cool. How I handle it now will show people that I'm different.
Exactly. Like, yeah, like being in school, like you see these people every day.
Every day.
Right. So like you're going to see them on their terrible day, on their good day, on their terrible day. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like showing them that you consistently over time, like what that character looks like, that's what's pointing to God.
Right.
It's not that one day.
Right.
Right.
It's not, oh, I saw you at the night of worship. It was,
exactly.
no, I see you live this out.
Yeah.
So what do you hear? Like when I think about you, and I know it's the typical verse that people use with students, but 1 Timothy 4:12, where it says, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set that example for believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. And like it's like, you, Noah, did not wait until you had a platform.
Yeah.
you just said, you want to meet me in the park? Do you want to, whatever.
Yeah.
You just said yes to God with what he was giving you in that moment and not even sure what you were saying yes to, which I think is incredible. But now that there's a rhythm and you're moving forward and God's opening doors and he's establishing you for his kingdom, what, as a 17-year-old kid, what kind of things do you feel like? Because I think if we're honest, you are still a kid. And so there's still things where it's like, because you don't live that lifestyle, you're going to get left out of things. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Because you don't live that lifestyle, you may not have the opportunities that other people would because they're in that place. Like, how do you maneuver through that? And again, I'm not saying, hey, perfect Noah, teach us your ways. I'm saying as you're walking your faith out, as you're growing, as you are saying, okay, I say yes to Jesus today, and I might have failed yesterday, but today is a new day, and I'm saying yes to Jesus today. That means that I have to make these choices. I'm making a decision this morning before I leave my house that this is the choices that I'm making today. How do you maneuver through the lonely moments? Yeah. The enemy saying this is too much pressure for you as a kid moment. Like, how are you maneuvering through that?
Yeah. Well, I think especially as a high schooler, it's an emotional roller coaster, right?
The fact that you recognize that is huge.
All over the place, right?
Guys and girls, right? Can we just be real?
Everybody.
Everybody's emotional.
Yes. Right. So I think, no, I honestly think it's so important though that we're just aware of that and aware that other people are the same way.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think it's so easy, especially like when we're young, and trust me, I do this as well. Like, we'll see somebody go off and maybe get angry or get mad. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a terrible person. It's like, no. Yeah. Like what's like, let's find like, what's this coming from? Like, there's a source to everything. And I think when we start like living with that mindset, and like for me, that's been an important thing. It's like, man, like this kid does not live like the way he should be living. Like, maybe they're claiming to be Christian, but I don't feel like they're living the way they should be. But it's like, let's find the roots of that. Right. Right.
In a non-judgmental way, right? Because you don't want people to be like, gosh, here comes, judgment Noah, Yeah. But the whole idea that you look at Peter, he was with Jesus for 3 years and an emotion cuts a dude's ear off. Like, if the disciples had their moments, don't you think we're going to have them?
Yeah, even Jesus had his.
Yeah, for sure. But his were without sin, right? Yeah. Let's make sure we know that. But the idea that you're having to, in a culture that is full of no absolutes, that is biblically illiterate, that is confused, that the gospel message is becoming increasingly more difficult to hear because it opposes everything that the culture embraces. Walking that out. And I will tell you this, that there is nothing, and you will hear me say this a million times, there is nothing more attractive, nothing more relevant, nothing more seasoned than the ministry of Jesus Christ. Like, there's not a smoke show, lights, the right Jordans. None of that is going to ever take the place of the presence of God in someone's life. And so people say, well, how do you stay relevant? You just follow Jesus, because there's nothing more relevant than that, right? But as a student in a high school, have you come across, and I know people say, well, you're in Texas. People expect to see this kind of stuff in like way up north or in Western Europe or whatever. But just to give you an example, there was it was a student that turned into a leader for me I've done student ministry for 25 years, right? And they went off to college in Northwest Arkansas, incredibly conservative area, Razorback Nation, right? Like they very conservative. You would think, well, they love football and Jesus and everything's good. Well, she came home on Christmas break and she came over. Now, this is a student. She was a leader that I watched walk closely with the Lord. She loved God. She was passionate about her relationship with Jesus. She goes into her freshman year of college and she's sitting in a fairly conservative area of the United States. She's sitting in a classroom with a professor that says, if you are a Christian, my goal this year is to prove you wrong and make you doubt everything that you believe. Day one.
Yeah.
So this whole process, she had to go through going, do I stand for what I believe and fail? Or do I just coast and make it through?
Yeah.
And she's laying on my couch, just like laying there. And I'm just sitting there watching, like, because I'm like, I don't know, what, did somebody break up with her? Like, what's happened there? She's emotional. I'm like, do I need to make cookies? Like, what are we doing in this moment? And she said, I coasted, but that coasting caused me to begin to question everything about myself. And the process of from when she walked in the front door to when we finally got to the root of what was going on, she was so not, it had been the God of her mom and dad, the God of her church, the God of her community. And she thought, I'm in, it's a public school, it's a secular campus, but we are still we're in Arkansas. Like, this is the South. Like, there's churches everywhere. There's churches on campus that are doing things. There's big student ministry stuff. Like, I'm good. This guy doesn't look crazy. And now I'm questioning everything I've ever believed. And so it was this process of going from it being the God of my parents to her God. And I would be lying if I said that the months to follow were not really messy and bumpy and hard. They were. Yeah. They were. She really had to. This is before the term deconstruct came out, but like, she had to really deconstruct her faith, because she had to go, everything my faith has been built on what people have taught me. I need to know why I believe what I believe. And everybody was like, this is dangerous. I'm like, it's really not. Because if we're creating a safe place, we've got to trust that the Holy Spirit is, in fact, holy and sovereign and good. And if she's seeking to find truth, she's going to find it. It might look ugly for a moment. That's okay. It might look messy for a moment. That's okay. But that was several years ago. And fast forward to now, that same type of teaching is happening on high school campuses. You've got stuff being challenged, being introduced in algebra. You're like, just teach me about the letters and the numbers. Yeah. Like, why are we talking about this? Like, are you seeing that or hearing about that? Maybe not at that level where a teacher's like, I'm here to prove your faith wrong. But are you seeing some of that pushback on just the core of your faith and your belief happening in high school campuses, maybe where you attend or where friends attend?
Yeah, I think it's becoming a push, and it started slow and just subtle. And I think it's like some people haven't even realized that it's there.
Right.
And it doesn't scare me, but like at the same time, I'm like, a lot of people don't even realize what's happening.
That part's scary.
That's the scary.
The fact that you see it is not scary. The fact that it's like that frog in a pot of water, that boiling pot of water, it's like slowly, and before you know, it's done, So you're seeing that. Is there conversation with friends? Are you like, man, like at lunch, like this teacher said this or this happened in class? And are there conversations of, well, this is not right, or this is not biblical? How do you respond to that? Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it's like I said, I'm young. I'm still trying to figure this out.
Yeah. And please don't feel like I'm sitting here going, hey, Noah, please teach us your ways. I need all your answers. But I'm just, we're curious. Where is this at with you guys?
Yeah, no. So this is definitely a thing. And I think like what's interesting for me is like people do see it. They just don't really like realize like what's the intentions behind this.
Right.
Like, where is this coming from? But I'm just glad, I think that like people are like seeing it.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't seeing it, then we'd be in an even scarier spot.
Right.
So like just talking to people and being like, okay, like what is the truth? Like, what are we looking at here?
Right.
Like, what is this streaming from? Right. Because I think everything evil comes from something, right? We know that comes from Satan, right?
Right.
And he's going to work through every aspect that he can.
Absolutely.
So it's finding the roots, right? Finding the causes. And it's like, what is the truth, right? So I think an interesting thing for me, which I have talked to people this year and it's been interesting, but just like asking people, and I think because it's one thing just like jump in. And I think before we present the gospel, it's like, ask them questions.
Well, you have to have a relationship.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you're seeing in school, like the stuff that you're noticing, the pushback. Like, can you give me an example of something that you're like, and you might not be able to because it might seem like everything's so subtle, but it's just like, I feel like the whole, the sexual identity confusion, all that kind of stuff is really rampant in schools. Yes. There was the whole thing with the people dressing up like cats, like what are they called, furries? Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Where was that at your school?
Yeah, and it's crazy because like we live in a very conservative area,
and people just want to be a cat.
And it doesn't like it breaks my heart because it's like they are searching for something.
For identity.
Right.
Right.
They all are searching for the same thing. That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is like everybody it looks like they're doing something crazy or we have no idea. It's like, how would they be there? It's like they're searching for the same thing that we have. They just don't realize it's in what we have.
But how many times have we, the church, been so harsh and so hurtful?
Yeah.
That we're the last place that they want to search because we've been poor representation of Jesus. Yeah. Like, I mean, that I think is a worthwhile conversation for us to have, right? To say, I've not always done the best job demonstrating the grace and mercy of Jesus. I've not always been the best at, I can acknowledge where he has set me free from the struggles I've had. But if your struggles are totally different than mine, it's easy to go, ooh, that's weird. Like that's never been anything that's crossed my mind. So you got to figure that out, man. But realistically, like you said earlier, it's the same. Yeah. And we have to be more open to having, and tell me what you see with this. I know it to be true. Like, when our hands are clenched and we're ready to argue, like that's not even the nature and posture of who Jesus was, right? Like he was just ready to have conversation. He did what you said. He started with asking questions. He fed them.
Yeah.
He showed up and was like, hey, I'm going to, Zacchaeus, hey, I'm going to come to your house for sandwich. Let's talk. And he didn't come for the elite and the religious. He came for the broken and the hurting. And even though so many of the elite and religious are very much broken and hurting, right? He came for all of us. What you said, it starts with a conversation. What does that look like for you? Yeah. What does that look like when you see people, because what happens is hurting people lash out, right?
Yeah.
So they attack your character. They attack your beliefs. They attack your confidence. What's your response look like? I know you have flesh, Noah. Like, I know there's a moment where you're like,
I struggle.
Like, and that's catch these hands, right?
Yeah. And I think it's real to recognize that Christians struggle.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
like, that's a big thing for me because I'm gonna be honest, like dealing with my pride, like it's a big issue and people don't think it's an issue for me. But like, and that ties into this because like, I'll have like literally people come up to me and they'll be like, man, no, like you really like you're doing something good. Right. And I recognize like what God's doing in me is awesome. But then it feels like I have like so much pressure on me. Right.
Yeah.
And then I'll take that onto myself. It's like, no, that's not on me.
Right. That's not for me. Yeah.
And that's the hard thing with this is like, we're here to love people and that's more important than anything else. And nothing should change that. Right.
Right. Nothing should. But loving people does not mean we ignore the brokenness, right? That's the opposite of love.
Yeah.
Right? Your parents' love for you means they dealt with things in you that had to be dealt with too. Like even the scripture says that a father disciplines a child he loves, right?
Yeah.
So you are who you are from the discipline and love and nurture that you got from your parents. How we handle the world has got to be, not that you, Noah, 17, walks down the hall, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. But when the conversation happens, when you've made yourself available and you have somebody who's not a follower of Christ that sits down with you and says, man, I don't know why my life's falling apart right here. And they've opened the door for that conversation. Love speaks truth, And do you see opportunity? Like, I think a lot of times people think, well, Christians hang out with Christians. Do you see God opening doors for you to have conversation with people who do not believe like you do?
So like this year, like I said, so over the summer I took a couple courses. So my schedule this year got like totally thrown off. So like I remember first day of school, like walking into my classes, I'm like, I don't know anybody in here. This is weird. Right? Like I'm trying to like figure it out. And I've realized.
What do your classes look like this year? Like what are some of the weird classes you're taking? Do you have a lot of electives?
No.
Okay.
I have like no electives almost this year. So it's like super weird. I'm taking like a lot of core classes because like I was like set up like I would graduate this year. So pretty much my senior year is going to be like super short, sweet.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm in like this like weird financial math class. Okay. And
are you good at math?
I'm good at math, but like I was just like, I'm done with math. I'm just going to get it out the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I walk in there and I'm like, I don't know a single kid in this class. So like, let's figure this out.
How many kids are in your graduating class?
About 400.
Okay.
It's a little over 400.
Okay. Because for people who are not familiar with Montgomery or Texas, whatever, like there's a lot of schools that an average, big school to some people, large classes, 200 kids. And then you've got like where my kids graduated, they had 1,200 kids in their graduating class. So 400, that's still a lot of kids.
It's a big school. But yeah, so I'm like around these kids that like I've never seen before. And I just start talking to them and I'm realizing that they're kids who are not Christians and it's people I've never even seen before. And I'm like, wait a minute, like if I get caught up in my bubble here in Montgomery, in my Christian group, it's like I have no idea what's even going on in this school. So that was like a big eye opener for me. And it's like realizing that there's so much going around me that like God wants to work in.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now it's like, I take that upon myself every day. It's like, all right, like there's an opportunity here and I don't want to miss that opportunity that I have.
Yeah. The idea, the concept of realizing that there's going to come a day where individually, apart from your parents, apart from your leaders, apart from your pastors, you're going to stand before God. I'm going to stand before God. And it has to matter that we lived, that we have to take those moments as God ordained moments, like your financial planning math class. Is that what it is? Did I say it right?
Pretty much, yeah.
that if we can look at those moments as an ordained moment by God, like I'm in this room for a reason.
Yes.
The people in this room have been put here. I've been put here for a purpose.
Yeah.
Like if we live our life that way, number one, life's not boring. And number two, God opens doors.
Yeah.
So with the thing that you had all summer, did you have kids show up out of curiosity that were not believers?
Yes.
Okay.
It was interesting.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So and it ended up being at the churches. And I think my reasoning for that is probably because they're like, it's easy to see somebody like, oh, I'll just go to a church and like, that'll be easy.
Yeah.
Instead of going out to the park. But,
and also not burn up and die because it's 9 million degrees, right?
Yeah. But it was interesting talking with those people.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing I really like. I was like, I want to talk to every person that comes to these. So I'd tell people, I was like, please stay after. I want to talk to you. Because I mean, like we said, it's a relationship.
Right.
If I can't have a relationship with that person, then like, it's not going to mean anything, probably what I say.
Right.
Right. Like I only have so much impact with my words. So I would like come up and talk to them, and I'd just be like, hey, like, what does your life look like? Like, you know, or like, why are you here? Because usually just little questions like that, people will open up more than we think they will.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Well, because people want to matter to somebody.
Yeah.
They want their world, even if they're like, my life is awful. They want listening ears. They want people to care.
Yes.
Right? Wow. Okay. So moving forward, I'm not going to ask you what your plan is, because I know that that's a lot of pressure. I'm going to ask you this. What do you want to see God do in the rest of your junior and senior year? Like, what are you believing God for? That's also a loaded question, but
I like just within my school, I'm just gonna say that within my school, because I have big dreams just like within like Montgomery County, but I'm gonna start just within my school.
Okay. I love it.
I want to see, and it's not like a number, because I wish I could put a number on it, but it's hard to put numbers on things. But we have a trend, obviously, we said, of claiming the title of a Christian. I want to see the people who, at least start with the people who call themselves Christians, start living a disciple life.
I love that.
Like
what does that mean to you, Noah? I know what it means to me, but what is being a disciple, a person who is a disciple? What does that mean to you?
A disciple is picking up their cross every day.
Yeah.
Right. It's not easy, but you're picking up your cross every day and you're living intentionally. I think that's one of the biggest things, is living intentionally.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what God's calling us to do. Like we said, living with a purpose, it brings us to live intentionally. And that is what's changing people. Right. That's what's going to change the world.
A disciple looks like its teacher.
Exactly.
And the more we pick up our cross, the more we look like our teacher.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible, that's a goal for the rest of our lives, right? We're always students. We're always following. So getting the idea to go away from being, I call myself a Christian, to I am a follower of Christ. I am a disciple. That's not an easy task to take on, but it's a worthy task. Do you feel like your friends, do you feel like your peers are like going, yeah, man, we gotta shift our focus. The narrative has to change a little bit in how we're living and how we're communicating. Do you see that, or do you think that it's just organically happening?
I think that, do you mean like just like, how's it taking place like this year?
Because here's the thing. It's one thing to go, okay, I see that this is necessary. We've got to stop just wearing a title. We've almost got to get rid of the phrase Christian and move to Christ follower, to the disciple.
Yeah.
Has this been in conversation with friends, or is it just because you guys are being intentional in your relationship? You're seeing it happen naturally? Or is there, hey, can we address the elephant in the room? Conversations happening. Yeah. Or both.
It's a little bit of both, to be honest. Because that was like one thing. It's like, hey, let's start with giving people opportunities to grow. Yeah. To that disciple, right? Right. Instead of just sitting there and being like, yeah, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong, right? So it's like, let's give people opportunities where they can grow into that. Okay. Right. Like, I love that. Because if we're not giving people opportunities to grow into something, then it's like, it's hard to call somebody to something if we can't give them access to something to grow. Well, and to own the fact that don't follow me. Yeah. Like, I have not arrived. Yeah. I am not the place but it is follow me as I follow Christ. Like, hey, this is the direction I'm going. I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but let's do this, and it becomes community and relational. Right. Yeah. And that's why it's important for me. Like, I have to be vulnerable with them. Right. Because like a lot of people see me as like, oh yeah, he has it figured out. But it's like, so if I can be open with them and be like, I struggle with the same things y'all struggle with. Right. I just realize that the hope that I have is too important not to share. Right. That's so good. So if you had to, and let me just say this, Noah, thank you for taking time. You're on fall break right now, right? So you got up early this morning to come to my house. I don't live in Montgomery County.
You drove on into Harris County, into the hood to see, to share this with us. But your transparency, your honesty is huge. But what would you say to anyone, whether they are a student, an adult, a parent, elderly, whatever, wherever they're at, if you had one opportunity to encourage people to walk out their calling, what would you say?
I would say, go head on. It says, seek and you'll find. Ask and it'll be given it to you, and knock and the door will be opened. And when you do that, that relationship builds. And when the relationship builds, you know the voice of God.
Yeah.
And when you can hear the voice of God, that's when he'll talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's where that obedience comes in, right?
So you said that earlier, and I did want to pick that up before we close. Hearing the voice of God, knowing the voice of God. How do you know it's the voice of God? I love asking you these questions because it's like, I love that you are your age and you're like the voice of God, the voice of God. I know the voice of God. How do you know?
That's quiet time. Like Jesus went up, he left the disciples right before he was killed, right? And for me, it's been like, this world is crazy and everybody's running around. My schedule's crazy. Your schedule's crazy, I know.
Right.
Right. But that quiet time with God, just sitting down and being honest, being open, you start to learn and you start to hear God.
Yeah.
Right. And it's hard to explain, honestly. It's hard to explain.
Well, the quiet, what do you do during your quiet time? What are you reading? The Word.
Yeah. So you're in the Word. And then also it's like, prayer for me used to just be like me talking to God. But recently I've started to learn it's like, that's not all prayer is.
Right. That's
like
good.
I'm going to sit here.
It's a conversation,
and I'm just,
man.
Yeah. So I might talk for a couple of minutes and I'm just going to sit there in silence. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I think that is where I've learned more than anywhere else.
Sure. Well, we used to teach that with kids ministry, called it interactive prayer, because any relationship you have, it's two-sided.
Yeah.
So you don't just call a friend and tell them everything you want to tell them and then bye.
Yeah.
And not give them the opportunity, right? Because then they're going to stop being your friend. That's how we taught it to 8-year-olds. So in kids ministry and even in youth ministry, interactive prayer is you talk to God and then you sit quietly and you allow him to speak to you. And he may put it on your heart. Open your Bible and read John chapter 11. He might put it in your heart. Hey, you need to forgive this person. Or, hey, you need to go and apologize to this person. And that's the Lord. That is. And when we act on that, we become more familiar with that voice. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I love that you see it that way too. That's pretty dope. Okay. Yeah. So hearing the voice of God is coming from your quiet time.
Yeah. And then
how important to you is quiet time?
It has to be the most important thing for me.
Okay.
Because like I said, especially in a direction that we're headed, this world is only getting faster.
Yeah, for sure. Right? And more chaotic, and there's too many voices, and everybody has an opinion. But how does the Bible describe the voice of God? A still small voice, right? So you've got to disconnect.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, probably, especially for your generation, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
The disconnect.
Yeah.
You can't connect until you disconnect. And burnout happens when you're always plugged in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's real.
That is real talk right there. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all do. Yeah. We all do. Not just you young people. We all do. We've got to unplug and just allow the Holy Spirit to just pour into us and recalibrate what has to be recalibrated. Yeah. Okay. So I love quiet time.
Oh, for sure.
Take quiet time.
Yes. Start there if you don't know where to start.
For real. For real. How important is community?
So important. I don't think I would have, honestly, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I would have continued my summer worship nights the whole summer if I didn't have community.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you, I don't know if you knew this. I mean, you knew they were there, but you did one at a church where I was at, and there was this couple that showed up in the back, and I know your parents. It wasn't them.
Yeah.
And just this precious couple. And I went up and I introduced myself, and they were like, "Oh, we love Noah." They had just gotten in town. Like, they pulled into town. And I think, if I remember correctly, they didn't go home. They went straight to the worship night because they were there to support you, and their son is one of your best friends.
Yeah.
And I just was like, that is huge. That is huge, that it wasn't just your parents that support you. It's your friends and your friends' parents. That they were all like, that's so biblical, first of all. It's so incredibly biblical. It's also so incredibly healthy to know that, because if we don't have community when we're doing this stuff, and just remember this, if you don't ever get anything from me, Noah, remember this, that if you don't have people that can speak truth into your life while you're trying to do this, very easily you can get out in left field and not know that you're out there floundering.
Yeah.
While community helps keep us accountable, it helps protect us. It helps feed us. I mean, that's Jesus traveled in community because he was God, but he was also man, and understood the value of having people around you at all times, you know? So I saw that with you this summer, and I thought that was really cool.
I mean, there's a reason why it says don't forsake the assembly.
Right.
Right. It's so
For
important.
sure. It is so important. Yeah. So hearing the voice of God, going back to that, is it happens in your quiet time.
Yes.
Wow. That's good. It's good, good, good. Hey, I don't know what this is going to look like. I have just loved having you today. I asked you, I asked you the question before we started this. I said, did you tell everybody, or did you just want to wait to see if it flopped or not? And what did you say?
I said, nobody knows. I'm just here.
Because you wanted to wait and see how it goes, right? So I think it went well.
I think it went awesome.
I think it's great. And I just, as God continues to unfold things in your life, man, I off record, off of the podcast, I care, and I want to be part of that, and I want to do whatever I can to support you. But as the story continues to unfold, man, I invite you back. Like, let's hear about this. Let's see what God's doing. And I hope and pray that for every person that listens, whether you're 12 or 112, that you're inspired today by just what obedience in uncertainty looks like. I mean, that's basically what your story is called, right? Sure. Obedience and uncertainty. Sure. I don't know what I'm doing, but I say yes. And watching God unfold that, man, it's beautiful. And if God can do it in Noah, he can do it in you. He can do it in me. And that's his heart. Despite what's happening everywhere in our world, he's calling us to wake up and to spend time with him and to go and be his hands and feet. And that's really cool. One last
thing I would say is,
oh, come on with it. One last thing.
Like God really he wants someone who's willing.
Yeah.
He doesn't want a perfect person. He wants a willing person.
Yeah.
So be willing and be open.
Yeah.
And God will use you. I promise you, he will. Say prayers that are hard.
Say prayers that are hard. Oh,
and it's not easy, but I promise you, like, it will. This is how the world's going to change.
Say the hard prayers. That's a t-shirt, man, right there. My gosh. Say the hard prayers. Say the hard prayers. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Thank you, Noah, for being here. Love you. So much. And this is going to be fun. We're going to do it again.
We're going to be back.
Okay, we're going to do it. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Stick around for the extra shot. I'm Amber Nobley, and you've been listening to Grounds for Conversations. To ensure you don't miss our next podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to hang around for an extra shot. All right, welcome to our extra shot. I still have my friend here, Noah. Are you ready for this, Noah?
I'm ready.
Okay, I just explained to him a little bit about how our extra shot works. We're going to do something a little different. Usually we have a random topic that we talk about, but I feel like because Noah is 17 and this is a great way for all of us to get into the minds of teenagers, maybe not. Maybe this is dangerous. Maybe I should just stop it right now. But what I'm going to do, Noah, we're going to have, I'm not going to say rapid fire because it may or may not be, right?
Yeah.
But have you ever played the game Never Have I Ever?
Yes.
I'm sorry, not Never Have I Ever. Would you rather?
Yes.
We're not going to play Never Have I Ever.
Yeah.
Would you rather? Okay, so this is going to be a cross between a would you rather and this or that. Okay?
Ready.
No answers are wrong, except for they are. No, I'm just kidding. All right, basic questions. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
In cake and ice cream?
No.
Okay, on cake, chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate on cake, vanilla on ice cream.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay.
Actually, wait, let me go back. I'm gonna say tea.
Hot tea or cold tea?
Hot tea.
Okay. Sweet or unsweet?
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hot, sweet tea. Honey or sugar?
Honey.
You're like
Yeah.
European all of a sudden, right? You're like, give me some tea with honey. Okay. Football or basketball?
Basketball.
Basketball or baseball?
Basketball.
Basketball or hockey?
Basketball.
You love basketball, right?
Yeah, I love basketball.
Okay. What's your least favorite sport in the world?
Curling.
That's it. Curling. Okay. Okay. Do you like watching basketball on TV?
Yes.
What's your favorite team?
The Rockets, even though we're not very good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're devoted. Okay. What's your least favorite basketball team?
Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather, if Kobe Bryant was alive, would you rather have a day with Kobe Bryant or a day with Michael Jordan?
That's wrong.
You're like, neither. I hate both of them. Just kidding.
That's a tough one. Probably Kobe.
Really? Tell me why.
Yeah. I don't know. He was interesting. Like he was like in his own world, it seemed like.
Do you think the fact that he died a tragic death plays part of the reason you'd want to be with him?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's unconsciously playing a role.
Yeah. Seriously. Because he's Black Mamba. Beach or the mountains?
Mountains.
Really? Winter or summer?
Summer.
Summer in the mountains or winter in the mountains?
Winter in the mountains.
Okay. I love that. I want winter.
Yeah.
But I want summer, but I want winter in the mountains.
Yeah.
Okay. Spicy or bland?
Spicy.
Salty or sweet?
Salty.
Rom-com or action?
Rom-com.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite rom-com movie?
Oh, gosh.
Nobody's judging you. This is a judgment-free zone. Just kidding.
I don't even know if you'd call this a rom-com.
What is it? What's your favorite movie of all time?
La La Land. I don't know if you know that.
Seriously?
Yes. And I don't watch movies much.
Kind of love that.
Yeah.
So are you a musical fan?
Yeah.
You are?
I've been. So like I was like homeschooled when I was younger. So like you're kind of just like around that world, if that makes sense.
That does not make sense. Are you saying that
No,
homeschool kids live in musicals?
Yes.
So you guys are like Sound of You're like Sound of
Disney
Music.
movies, all the good stuff. Yeah.
Your mom takes old curtains and makes outfits for you, and
for
you go
sure.
sing "Doe a Deer."
Exactly. Go outside, have some fun. You know.
Okay. Would you rather never? Okay. Would you rather have no elbows or no knees?
I already feel like I have no knees, so I'll say no elbows.
How would you eat?
Oh gosh.
Put your hands out. Go ahead. Nobody can see. Okay. How would you eat?
I don't know.
How would you pull your pants up? How would you dribble
prosthetic arm?
No, if you don't get additioned. Like you have to use the arms that you have.
That's okay. You're kind of persuading me.
Okay. You couldn't dribble a basketball. You couldn't shoot a basketball. Okay. Would you rather never be able to see or never be able to hear?
That's a tough one. I'm going to say C.
What's worse, body odor or bad breath?
Body odor.
Do you prefer bright colors or muted colors?
Bright.
What's worse, having a lot of options to choose from or only having one option?
A lot of options.
Tell me why. That's interesting to me. Tell me why. Why is a lot of options like at 31 flavors ice cream? Like that it stresses you out?
It doesn't, I'm not gonna say it stresses me out, but sometimes I'm indecisive.
So you just want no option. It's like, here, you take this.
I'm straightforward. So
okay. Would you rather have pen or paper? I mean, pen or pencil.
Oh,
sorry.
Probably pen.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Okay, good answer. I guess like the guys, like tennis shoes are just what you wear all the time, right? So it's fiction or nonfiction books?
Nonfiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take the Bible out of it. Fiction or nonfiction?
Still nonfiction.
Okay.
I read a lot of nonfiction.
Okay. Sweater or hoodie? Like a pullover or a hoodie? Do you like the hood on it or not?
Hood.
Okay.
Yeah, give me hood.
If you could get new clothes or a new phone, which would you get?
New clothes.
Okay. Horseback riding or riding a bike?
Oh, bike. Every day of the week.
Yeah. Are you not a horseback? Do you not ride horses?
No, and I love riding bikes. So just.
Do you? Are you one of those people?
Remember mountains?
Oh yeah. So you don't have to ride a bike in the mountains. So listen, those guys, are you one of those people that like put on the little spandex shorts and ride and get in the way on Sunday morning or Saturday morning when people, are you one of those guys?
That is not me, but I do ride a lot.
You do? Okay.
Not that obnoxiously, but yeah.
Okay. Live theater or a movie?
Live theater.
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
Really?
I don't watch Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skydiving or scuba diving?
Skydiving. I'm never going scuba diving.
Does the ocean freak you out?
Yeah.
Does the idea, this is kind of weird, does the idea of like weird fish that nobody's seen before, discovering you before you discover it?
We haven't like seen like majority of the ocean kind of creeps me out.
Me too, dude. Me too.
People don't talk about that enough.
Let's talk about it for a second. The idea that people were stupid enough to get in that little thing.
Oh my gosh. What were we thinking?
And then do you know what I'm talking about? That little submarine that just went missing?
Like huge for a little while.
Why? Why would you? They're like, well, let's go see the Titanic. Why? Are you going to find something?
Yeah.
The heart of the ocean, that necklace from Titanic wasn't real.
Story, right?
Yeah, like it wasn't real. What were you looking for? Like Jack didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Lay it. He couldn't get on the board or whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that's not been discovered down there.
Yeah.
So you would jump out of a plane before you would go scuba diving?
Sure, I'd jump out of a plane today if I had the chance.
Really?
Yeah.
What would you do if all of a sudden a door opened and it was like, this is your lucky day? And there's a plane outside waiting for you. Okay, cool. What about like bird songs or ocean waves? What's more chill?
Ocean waves.
Even though you love the mountains.
Yeah, even though I love the mountains.
Okay.
I love the sound of water.
Yeah. But not in the mountains. Unless it's a waterfall.
So yeah, like a waterfall. Like I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So like a big party or a small gathering?
Small gathering.
Yeah. Okay. You rather save money or spend money?
Save. Sure.
Okay. Train ride or a bike ride?
Bike ride.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Have you ever done any of these like train rides across? Like I want to do the one that's across Canada.
Oh.
Which I think would be so dope.
That would be cool.
Like, yeah.
Honestly, I haven't done a train ride, so it's kind of hard. But
yeah.
I just love biking, so I can see myself doing that.
Okay. Acoustic guitar or electric guitar?
Acoustic.
Sing or dance?
Dance.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Couch or recliner?
Couch.
Okay. Highway or rural road?
Highway.
City or country?
City.
Absolutely, man. And you live in Montgomery.
Yeah.
Do you go to Houston a lot?
Yeah.
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 Same. I love it. So a campfire or a fireplace?
Campfire.
Vinyl records or streaming music?
I'm gonna say streaming, but I've never actually
Done a vinyl?
done a vinyl.
Okay.
But I'm interested.
Have you ever been into like a record store?
I haven't.
Okay. I think you
It
should
seems
totally
so
go check it.
interesting, yeah.
You should. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. What about a road trip or a plane trip?
I've never been in a plane.
Seriously?
Yeah. But I want to. But I do love road trips.
Do you like to people watch?
Yeah. Oh,
My
yeah.
favorite place in the
Oh,
world to
yeah.
people watch is the airport. Like it's all,
I want to do that.
it's like, you know how like when you in the ocean, like if you're on a boat, there's no jurisdiction. It's like you're just out there.
Yeah.
You're not part of any country. You're just out there. I feel like that's how airports are. I feel like it's
Yeah.
like everything that should be important is no longer important when you're in an airport. Like
Yeah.
people do weird things. They say weird things. You've got people drinking heavy alcohol at like 8 a.m. You're like, oh, okay, calm down. All right, whatever. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Okay. Would you rather freelance or be employed by somebody?
Freelance.
A used bookstore or a brand new bookstore?
Used.
Yeah. Have you been in any good used? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty
You
epic.
can't get any better.
Marathon or a triathlon?
Probably triathlon.
Okay. Roller coaster or a Ferris wheel?
Roller coaster. I hate Ferris wheels. Too slow.
What's worse, doing laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
Really?
Laundry is not that bad. Dishes.
Okay.
Struggle.
Thrift store or retail store?
Thrift.
Do you like to go thrifting in Houston?
Yes.
There's a whole lot of really cool
There's
places.
a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Art museum or natural history museum?
Art.
Have you been down the museum district?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta go.
Because you were homeschooled. You got to go do all that stuff,
We got
right?
to do all that fun stuff.
Okay, so this is a weird one. This isn't even on my list, but you said laundry over dishes. When you load the dishwasher, do you put the silverware down? The part that you use, not the handle. Is the handle up or the handle down?
The handle is
Why? I need to know your answer on this. The answer to that is correct, but I want to know why.
so I'm not stabbing myself when I'm going to grab it.
Okay, so
like,
my answer would be so that the hands unloading it aren't on the thing that I'm about to stick in my mouth. Do you know what I'm saying?
okay, yeah, I see that. That makes
That's
sense.
important. Okay, formal or casual? You like to get dressed up?
Oh, formal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you live that life? Would
I
you
would. I could see myself wearing a suit every day.
really?
Yeah.
Would you wear dress shoes or would you like trick it out
No.
with like Jordans and
I
stuff?
trick it out with Jordans for
Okay.
sure.
Since you said dance, waltz or salsa?
Waltz.
Seriously?
Yeah. Even though I'm not the best dancer.
Okay. I know you love the city, but if you had to choose between city skyline or a mountain range, what would you go for?
It's the hardest question of the day.
Is it hardest
This is
question of the
hard.
day?
This is hard, man. Because I love both. Like, love both.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to say the mountains, though.
Okay. Are you a coffee drinker?
No,
You're water. You're a water guy.
for sure.
Okay. Water rafting or kayaking?
Kayaking.
Okay. Gas car or electric car?
Yes.
Okay. Hammock or lawn chair?
Hammock.
Okay.
Come on.
Fishing or hunting?
Fishing.
Do you hunt?
No.
Okay. Do you fish?
A
A little bit.
I
Okay.
have before.
Rain or snow?
Rain. I like rain.
Dude, me too. Especially after the drought we had this summer.
my
It started
gosh.
raining. People were like, what is this
I
stuff?
know. I was like, praise God.
Yeah.
It's rain.
Yeah, for real. Okay, so you like to ride bike or e-bike or traditional bike?
Traditional.
Yeah. Do you like Peloton and stuff like that? Or you want to be outside?
Outside. I have to be outside.
Okay. What about, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning, for sure.
Are you?
Yeah.
As a teenager?
Yes. I'm weird.
How early
Last week,
do you get up?
I get up early. Like last week for school, I didn't even wake up to an alarm any day of the week. Just woke up at, I think, 5:30 every day.
What time do you go to bed?
9:30 to 10.
Are you the guy when you're like having sleepovers with your friends, you're the first one asleep?
Yes, that was me last night. Literally, true story.
Your friends are like, dude, what's wrong with him?
Story.
Okay, so would you rather do cardio or weights?
Cardio. I'm weird.
You don't like the weights?
I like weights, but I enjoy getting my heart beat up. I don't know.
Okay.
Fills you with energy.
Would you rather do mountain climbing or cave diving?
Probably mountain climbing.
Would you ever go splunking? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so my advice, if you ever take advice from me, don't go splunking. They look it up, but don't do it before you go to bed because you'll have nightmares. Okay, so it's these little bitty caves inside of mountains that people like crawl through, and people get stuck and they die.
There's no way I'd ever do that.
Like, to me, that's equivalent to going deep into the ocean.
That's terrible.
It's the worst. Audiobook or a podcast?
Podcast.
Okay, dog or cat?
Cat.
Oh, are you a cat person?
I'm not, but I am not a dog person.
Do you have animals?
We have 2 cats, but like I don't really associate with
Do they live in your house?
Yes.
You don't associate with them. We have cats in our
They're
house,
there.
but we don't talk.
They're there. But yeah, there's no relationship there.
So when you grow up, you like that. When you get older and you have your own house, will you have animals?
If my wife wants it.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, great
'Cause
answer.
I know, yeah, there's a lot of girls that like dogs.
Okay, so what if you're not married yet? You got
If
your
I'm
own
not married,
place?
oh yeah, there's no animals.
No animals. Are you like, ugh. We have a dog, but you wouldn't know it right now because she's in her kennel because she would be driving you crazy. We don't have a dog. Phil has a dog. Let me go ahead.
It's a long story with the dogs, to be honest.
Did you get bit?
Sorta. It's weird.
Okay, so are you afraid of dogs?
I'm getting better. I used to be afraid.
Dude, okay, well, I'm glad we have a pit bull, so we will not let her out while you're here.
Awesome.
You're sweating right now, aren't you?
Yeah. I can't see, but
okay. All right, online shopping or shopping in person?
in person.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Depends on the situation, but I think I'm going to have to say introvert, honestly.
Introvert with extrovert tendencies?
Yeah.
You're an introvert that loves people.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Would you rather have a nice car or a nice home?
Nice home.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Good answer. Because they appreciate and value cars don't.
Yeah.
All right. Did you learn that in your money class?
No. They don't teach you important stuff like that.
Okay. A trampoline or a bouncy house?
Trampoline.
Yeah. Bouncy houses kind of freak me out. You know that?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen them collapse on people? Like
It's scary,
they can't get out.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Okay. This is a big one
All right.
to me. Graffiti art or gallery art?
Gallery for sure.
Really? Have you ever gone to like a train yard and looked at, have you been to the graffiti district in Houston?
I haven't.
Okay. Then we need to go. You need to go see it. I love it. It's amazing. The detail is incredible. I have mad respect for people, not for people defacing property, but I mean, the graffiti art's just really cool. You got to see some good graffiti art.
Okay. Maybe I'm missing out.
Yeah, for sure. Snowball fight or building a sandcastle?
Sandcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you want to be in the see, there's the side of you that's like this. You're contradicting yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Yeah. That's pretty much most dudes, right?
Yeah.
Do guys take baths?
It's rare.
Yeah.
Epsom
like an
salt
ice
baths.
bath. Yeah.
That's-
So for purposes like that. Yeah. Classic or modern art?
Classic.
Okay. So you've been down in the museum district. Would you rather go to the aquarium or the museum?
Museum.
Yeah. Do you like the aquarium?
A little bit. Not a fan
You're
of
not
animals.
in. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Gosh.
You're like, I just like people.
Yeah.
Okay.
People, art, stuff like that.
Okay, this is another one. You probably like, I don't even care. I just go into my bathroom and it's there. Toilet paper. Does it come over or does it come under? It's a big deal here at this house.
I don't even know if I've thought about that, but I have to say over.
Okay.
Like.
That's right. That's the right answer. Okay. This is.
I didn't know that was a controversy.
Dude. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and publicly admit this right now. I will change people's toilet paper in their house.
Wow.
I will. I'm not afraid. And if I've been to your house and your toilet paper's under, I just did you a favor. And it also makes me mad, which this is a thing that kids do. So your mom probably has been mad at you for this. They don't put the toilet paper on the roll. They just set it there.
Yeah.
Did you guys get in trouble for that at home?
Yes.
Okay. You should get in trouble for that. Video games or no? Are you a gamer?
No.
Really?
Never had a console in my life.
Okay. You guys you never played Wii or anything like that?
Okay, we did have Wii.
Wii was a different level. A lot of people who were like, we don't let our kids game, but all the competition sports and stuff on Wii was so fun.
Yeah.
Was your favorite part making the little people?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the custom. Everybody had to have their own character.
We used to like make people that didn't even know they were on our Wii. Like we would create people that look at people at our church.
This is my pastor.
No, I came home one day and my kids had created our entire staff.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what the heck? What is this? And there was that older gentleman that was like an elderly pastor, but he had this really big mole. And he had that.
That's
like, terrible. I was like, what is this thing? And they're like, that's so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay. Documentary or an action film?
Documentary, probably.
Okay. Sunrise or sunset?
That's hard.
Oh, that scared you. Okay. You know what?
Sunset.
All right. Even though you are an early riser, you love. That's because you get to go to bed, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, this is the reason we have that sound is because I could do this for the rest of my life because I think it's fun. But Noah, thank you for being here and sharing with us that you live the sound of music growing up. That's amazing. I'm glad you're here. I can't wait to do this again. Thank you guys for joining us for this extra shot. Y'all take it easy.